The example that we'll walk through in this video is similar to one you might encounter in the lab. Let's focus on a couple key parts. Here we see the ingredients list and a set of quantities for them. Note that talc has a QS abbreviation. We'll go over what that means later. Here, the set of directions is written using abbreviations. The first line stands for make and mix powders in chartulé, or powder packets, of such doses, quantity 5. In other words, this prescription is for 5 doses using the quantities described above for each dose. The second line is the SIG, or directions for use for the patient. Properly translated, it reads, apply the contents of 1 packet to the feet as directed every morning and at bedtime. Now that we know what's on the prescription, let's look at our objectives. A copy of the blue text will be kept on screen for reference. Below the prescription on your compounding worksheet, you should find a prompt such as this one with several blanks to fill in. These prompts are usually common practice in compounding labs as it makes it easier to help keep track of the quantities that you need. In this one in particular, it is asking us to calculate the amount of each ingredient we need to make 8 charts, or 8 doses as we know from the directions. Now this is more than the 5 doses called for a few good reasons. In the lab, it's often good practice to calculate for and measure out more ingredients than you need. This can account for the imprecision of your tools, as no tool is perfectly precise and you might end up with less than what you expected. And of course, this accounts for residual loss, that is, the loss of products or ingredients that you get from it sticking to the sides of tools or containers that you use to manipulate with. Either way, it's better to measure once and not have to go back and measure some more ingredients down the line. Let's start with the benzocaine first. Now we know the quantities on this prescription are for exactly 1 dose because of the DTD in the directions. So if we know that 25 milligrams of benzocaine is in exactly 1 dose, for 8 doses we can just multiply by 8 and we get 200 milligrams. Now the quantities here are asking for it in grams, so we'll take 200 milligrams, divide that by 1,000 milligrams, of course, per 1 gram. The units should cancel out, and we should be left with grams as our unit and 0.2 as our number. And we can just add that up here. Similarly, we can repeat the process for salicylic acid, camphor, and color powder. Now, since these calculations are very similar, I'll skip the commentary on those until we get to talc. For talc, a few extra steps are needed. QS stands for quantity sufficient, and in this context, it basically means to these other ingredients, add a quantity of talc that is sufficient to make the entire thing weigh 250 milligrams. Now, since we know the other ingredients are part of that 250 milligrams and the rest is talc, we can subtract the other ingredients amounts from the 250 milligrams, and we should get 187.5 milligrams. Now, since we're looking for the amount for 8 doses, we know that this quantity is for 1 such dose, so we just multiply by 8 doses like we did before, and we should get 1,500 milligrams. Now, since we're asking for it in grams, we just use the same conversion like we did before, and after we finish this, we have completed all the calculations that we need to know how much ingredients we need to get for this prescription. Our final answer for this is 1.5 grams. The units cancel out, and the numbers multiply out to 1.5. Let's recap. To solve this set of calculations, we had to interpret the prescription, determine what to calculate for, calculate the easily known quantities first, and then calculate the quantities that require multiple steps. As you try examples on your own, try asking yourself these questions to help keep you on track. This has been Calculations for Compounding in PRC 609. Thank you for watching, and I hope this guide helps.